Well, g'day everyone. I wanted to talk to you today about this lens I've been trying out for the last month or so. This is the Tamron 17-70. And it's an absolutely amazing lens. I think it's probably the best zoom lens that you can put on an APS-C Sony camera. It really is amazing. And I'm going to take you through the specs about this and everything, and then I'm going to do this a little bit differently because I'm just going to show you a shoot that I've done, a number of shoots, and then I'll take you through the shoot, actually showing you each sort of shot, and I can just discuss sort of how it went, and I thought I'd do it that way today as something that's a little bit different. I've tried a few things with this. I've tried the autofocus, I've tried using it obviously in video, and I've got some of those tests that I can share with you as well, so I've done that at the same time. I've tried it also with stabilization on and stabilization off because this lens has VC, and I thought that I'd talk to you all about those sort of things. So let's start off by looking at the specifications of this lens. So the lens itself here is at 17-70. Now, if you're on full frame, that's equivalent of 25.5 to 105 millimeter in 35 millimeter format equivalent. So that's a great travel lens because it does give you a very good focal length if you're traveling and things like that. And that's where this lens really does excel. The maximum aperture too is a constant f2.8 aperture, which is also brilliant. And the lens itself has 16 elements in 12 groups. The minimum focusing distance is 0.19 millimeter or 7.5 inches, and I'll talk about that macro sort of side shortly. At 17 millimeter, and it changes slightly at 70, so it goes to 39.39 millimeter or 15.4 inches at 70. The maximum magnification ratio is 1.48 at 17 and 1.52 at 70 millimeter. The filter size, and this is brilliant, and I'll talk about this too, is 67. All of these Tamron zoom lenses seem to be 67 millimeter, so I'll discuss it as we're going on. The length, is 119 millimeter. The weight is only 525 grams, so it's really light and it matches the body wonderfully. This is the first lens that they've sort of brought out for the Sony side that has vibration compensation, and there's 9 circular diaphragm blades in the lens as well, and it's Sony FE APS-C mount. Now, the vibration compensation, before I go through this, like I said, this is the first one that they've brought out. And it certainly helps if you're doing video or if you want to, say, shoot with a very, very slow shutter speed. That can be a big advantage as well. And it's a great feature to add into this lens without really making it any bigger. Hopefully this is the sort of thing that they can now start to do on the FE, the full frame lenses as well, in the near future. You can sort of see over here too, they give a diagram about how the whole system works with bearings and magnets and driving cells and microprocessors, etc. But I've found overall it certainly does help if you're hand-holding, doing video and things like that. It has the typical RXD motors, which means it's very, very quiet. In fact, if I bring this up to the microphone, now it's on video, and I'm going to just press the video focus down. It's absolutely dead quiet. So if you want something that will focus very, very quiet, the RXD motors are stunningly quiet. And it is very, very quick in autofocus as well. And basically, I'll show you these when I go through the actual images that I've taken. You do get a sort of macro look as well, which is fantastic. They all take the same filter size, and this is what I was saying is so good about the whole Tamron system, is that right from the 17 to 28 all the way through all of these lenses, including the 17 to 70, they all take the 67 millimeter filter size. Now, I love this because I only have to buy one set of filters, and I absolutely think that's one of the great things about this. It is fully weather sealed, so it's got 7 rubber gaskets through the whole lens, and it has the fluorine coating, which helps with fingerprints and keeping the lens clean, etc. It also is IAF compatible, and I'll show that working. And it's also got the fast hybrid AF compatible as well. So I'll show all this working as well. Now, like I said, I think it matches the body brilliantly on an A6000 series, and it also would work quite well too if you were shooting video and you wanted to use APS-C mode on something like one of the full frame cameras as well. Maybe not for still unless you have an A7R4, which gives you the resolution. But if you're shooting video, it would work wonderfully, particularly seeing it's got the vibration calibration there as well, the VC. It fits nicely in your hand. The build quality is really nice, and it's the typical Tamron build quality, and I've found them to be incredibly robust in usage. And I use my Tamron 28-75 all the time, and it still looks like it's brand new after probably 1.5 years of use. And I find that even though they are a plastic construction, the plastic material is incredibly good. The focus ring also works really nice as well, and the zoom ring is also nice, and it doesn't creep, which is also a good feature about this as well. There's no switches or anything like that. You've only got your focus and your zoom ring as well. But I think it fits really, really nice. If I take it off, I can show you the lens size here as well. Like I said, it does hold a 67mm filter, which is great because it matches all my other lenses. So what I thought we'd start with is we'll look at some of my images that I've taken with this, and it gives you an idea about the look that you get from this. I did have a massive shoot planned going away for a few days, but unfortunately there was a lockdown again due to COVID, and we had to come home quickly. So I missed that shootout. But so I've shot all around the town and done things like that, and we did shoot when we went to this location as well as coming back as well. So hopefully I'll be able to get this back for a bit of a longer loaner and use it for other things like portrait shooting and things like that, because I think this will be wonderful to say use in the studio or use as a portrait lens going out, because the focal length is so good. So what we'll do is we'll look at some of those images now and go through those, and after that we'll then start to look at how the autofocus was and also things like stabilisation and things like that, and then we'll have a summary at the end. So let's look at the images now. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the images. I just wanted to sort of take a whole series of different images and use different focal lengths and things like that, and apertures, just to sort of see how the whole camera worked. And I just pulled across on the side of the road and saw all of these bushes, and I thought this might be a nice way of having a look just to see what the rendering is like. These have had no corrections, so these are exactly as they've come out of camera. Now, the interesting thing is there's no lens profile for this yet. So this is just as Capture One has seen the images. And they're really nice. Like, I can't see any real vignetting on these images at all. And we'll have a look through a few others. I haven't done brick walls and things like that. It's just not really what I like to do. But you can sort of see that what I've focused on is this area through the front here, which is, I'm not sure how sharp this will be through YouTube, but it's very, very sharp if you're looking at the areas where I've grabbed focus on this image. And if you look sort of down here, you'll sort of see that this is ISO 100. It's 1/320th of a second. It's f4, and it's 70mm. And I think the image looks, I mean, look, it's not an image I want to sell, but I think it sort of shows just how sharp this is from edge to edge. The edges are also really nice and sharp as well. I mean, if you look out at these areas that are on the side, right through here, that sort of maintains sharpness. And, you know, it's sort of sharp right out to this side as well. So it looks like it's sharp right across the whole lens, which is really nice. If we look here too, it'll give you an idea too about the focus on these lenses. I've sort of focused onto the middle part through here. So if we look at this and bring it up, like I said, these have had no corrections at all. They're just straight raws that have come out of the camera. It's really lovely, and you can sort of see the fall off. Now, this was shot at f4, and it shows you the fall off that you can get if you start to get nice and close. This was also shot at 39mm. You can sort of see through here too, there's a cobweb that's sort of coming right through there. That's a little bit back, so it's a little bit out of focus, whereas it would be dead in focus if you're looking at this section through here. If we go to another one, it'll show sort of a better example of the sharpness of the lens. If we check down here, you can see every sort of little bit of this flower that's come through this section here. It is wonderfully sharp, this lens. I mean, incredibly sharp. The autofocus was superb. It really was good, and like I said, I'll show you that in use as we go sort of through this. We then sort of went down to a different area where they had these beautiful. In Australia, they have all of these silos and they paint them. You can do a whole road trip and see, there's probably hundreds of them around, but you can do a whole road trip and find all of them. So this was shot at 17 millimeter. There's a couple of shots that I've done here, and this one was shot at 26 millimeter. And you can see it's lovely and sharp overall. I mean, if I click onto the eye of the bird through here, like I said, this has had no sharpening done at all. I mean, you can read the name. It's very, very sharp if you're looking down through here. You can also see like through there as well. This is f5 if you're looking at it. Again, beautiful rendering, nice, sharp, lovely colors. Like I said, these are all straight out of the camera. I wanted to also show the zoom range. And so what I did here was, this is my granddaughter Lenny. This was the caravan park that we went to over for New Year's Eve. And this was shot at 70 mil. And if I want to go up to the 70 mil, so you can see the range that you can crop this in. Like I said, it's equivalent to going to 105 mil, but you can see just how sharp that this lens actually is. You can see all the strands of hair there. I used IAF to grab this and it worked flawlessly. That again, like I said, if I click out, you'll sort of see the distance that you can zoom in, which is great for wildlife, things like that. If you wanted to grab all that sort of stuff. There's another one here of Lenny just playing around. This was also shot at 70 millimeter. So you can see again how sharp this actually is. If you look at the water and Lenny's face there is beautiful and sharp if you're looking at that. Next one, I wanted to look at, say, if there was any chromatic aberrations. So I saw this lovely scene as we were driving on the way there. It was fairly late at night, or in the evening, but I thought I'd take a shot of these trees up the side here, and you can sort of see, if you look, really there's no chromatic aberrations at all that I can see, and this has had no lens correction. There may be a fraction of magenta that's sort of coming out on the right-hand side as you're getting near the right-hand side of the lens, but this would be easily corrected once the lens profile comes out. In fact, I could have corrected in Capture One, but I didn't want to. I wanted to show the images exactly as they are. Near the center, though, there's no fringing at all. I mean, it's absolutely wonderful if you're looking at that. And again, because this is the area that's in focus, it's very, very sharp. This is shot at f4.5. And it's a lovely scene. The next one I wanted to do, just to have a bit of fun while we were driving, we were pulled over this little stop, and my daughter was driving her car in front, and then Paisha, my other granddaughter, poked out the back, and you can see the lovely sort of bokeh now through the side here as well. Maybe a little bit busy, but I mean, I'm happy with that. I quite like the look of the bokeh that's in this lens. There's another one down here where the bokeh is not there. Let me keep going down. We took this one from in the car when we were stopped. My beautiful granddaughter Lenny was there. I wanted to test this with high ISO. Now, this is the A6400, so it's a little bit noisy. This was ISO. I'll just show you what settings we'd used here. This was ISO 3200. It was 1/60th of a second, f4 and 17 millimeter. I could have gone to 2.8, but I just wanted to try everything out just to see how everything worked. Let me just quit this so we can see it again. Again, though, you can sort of just see how beautiful and sharp that this lens actually is. It's wonderful. We went a little bit further on. Again, it is starting to go dark. I just wanted to grab a picture of the lovely sunset that was sort of coming through. This was at 17 mil, which was great. There is a fraction of distortion in the center, but again, that would be fixed later on when the lens profile comes through. So I sort of don't want to talk about that at this stage because the lens profile is just not there. This was just a fraction later on too. Again, I love the rendering and how sharp it is. The clouds and everything look beautiful coming out of this. Another high ISO test. It got a lot darker. It doesn't look it, but it was. This was a high ISO test. Just stopped. I wanted to look out through the window to get the raindrops that were appearing on the window. I also wanted to try out the DxO noise reduction, and I did that with this test here, so you can see how much that has improved it. DxO does some incredible stuff. I just exported this file to DxO and used the DxO Prime noise reduction, but again, it's sort of giving you an idea. This was at 6400 ISO, so that's why the noise is so prevalent in the corners. Looking down at sort of getting towards macro, you can see the fall off that we're getting here too is lovely. And this is shot at f4.5, so I haven't even opened the lens up. I will do that a little bit later, but you can see where it's focused is in these areas through here, and you can see every single little bit of hair or whatever that's sort of poking out through the side of the flower there. If we look at some others, again, you'll see how sharp this is and how close you can get to the object. If we zoom this up, the lens sharpness is outstanding. It really is outstanding, and it's beautiful. The color rendering particularly I love from the Tamron lenses, and I really particularly love the color that this lens is putting out. It's beautiful when you think that these were just the raw files. And imagine when they're edited and you can add some sharpening in and things like that if you needed to put that in later. Like I said, the rendering in the background, the outer focal area, because you're shooting this in near macro, is fantastic even at f4.5. Let's keep going down. Some more flowers that you can sort of see here too. This was at f5. And again, you can sort of see how sharp the flowers actually are in the area that we've focused onto, which were beautiful. Like I said, imagine these when I add some sharpening to these images. Again, it's given that beautiful green rendering in the background. So, you know, it's just lovely, and I really do love using it. Some other flowers that I found too, again, you're sort of showing the rendering that's there. I'll show some 2.8 stuff in some lenses, shots that are coming up. 17mm, and then went up to the 70mm to sort of show you the zoom in there, that you can see that the raindrops and everything else. There's beautiful fall offs between the highlights and the shadows as well, which is really good as well. And this is just showing the full picture of my car as well. I love my old V8. And also the SS logo and sort of the fall off at the back as well, and just looking at the back as well. And again, to show you the sharpness, it is outstanding on this lens. This is just the back view of my car, and if you look at this, it is nuts how sharp this is without any sharpening being applied at all. Macro. This gives you an idea too about the macro exposures that you can sort of get if you're dealing with it. We had a nice rain shower on the day, so I wanted to take some photos with that. This is the 17, and then we can zoom into the 70mm to show the range there as well. Now I wanted to shoot at 2.8. So these images have been done at 2.8, and you can see that lovely water drop that you're looking at through here, and how beautiful the rendering and the fall off is when you're dealing with these. There's a few that I've taken here at 2.8. This is directly behind the tree, so you can see the fall off that we're sort of looking at through there. Again, through here, you can see the lovely rendering and fall off as well. I've focused on the flower right through here. And you can even see the raindrops and stuff on the flower here. Again, the color is outstanding that you're getting on this lens. This was just some of the Japanese maples that we've got growing in our garden. I just wanted to take some of that with the raindrops sort of hanging off them. And the last few images here are just showing some flowers at f2.8 and just showing you the fall off here as well. The rendering, I think, is lovely that you're getting from this. It really is beautiful. So yeah, I'm really happy with those images. I think they look terrific. Let me know what you think about them in the comment box down below, because I'd be curious to know what you think about them. Like I said, I'd love to eventually try a portrait type shoot and things like that too, because I think it would be wonderful in that range as well. It'd be great for architecture and doing things like that if you were traveling due to that zoom range that you've got. So what we'll do now is we'll look at the autofocus. And I'll show you the video side of that so you can get an idea about how that looks with the video autofocus, and also how the focus itself works, so we can check that out in stills as well as video. So let's do that now. Okay, so here I just wanted to use wide area just with Kerry walking towards me. You can see it grabs her face when it sees that. And I just asked her to walk slowly towards me just to see if it would maintain the focus the whole way through, and it did. Then I thought I'd try using the fast shutter and just fire away as Kerry was moving towards me, and that worked very well. The next thing I thought I would try too is using the tracking to see how that would lock onto Kerry. And I'll show you all these images later, how they all worked in focus. But you can see now it's tracking Kerry, and then she's just going to start running towards me fast, and I just kept shooting there as well. This is a video test, so I just wanted to see how it handled Kerry walking straight towards me, and it did handle that very, very well. It didn't lose focus at all. With these, though, I wanted to try it with sort of the face closer up to see how that went. Now, in this scenario, I wanted Kerry to move out of the frame, and you can see here it does take a little bit of time to rack back on, and I could probably play with the settings to get this to be a bit smoother, but you can see here that it does take a little bit of time to lock back on. It's not too bad though, but it's not A9 performance, but again, it's certainly acceptable. And what I'll do now too is I'll show you some of the images that we captured of Kerry on that location. Yeah, so what I wanted to show you here was this was the Kerry walking towards the camera that you saw in that video part with the focus, and every single one of these was in focus. Now, you'd expect that because that wasn't a challenging scenario. But what we can do is we can go down, and I'll just see if I can get the ones where Kerry was actually running. All right, so let's check these out as well. So if we click on this one, again, we're in focus. If I click on this one where she was getting close to the camera, again, completely in focus. If we start to get really close to the camera, she's in focus. And this one here, where I stopped, again, she's in focus. So Kerry kept running, and she ran quite fast, as you saw. Well, fast for us anyway at our age. And the camera kept up with her the whole time coming towards her. So I think that's terrific. So now let's look at, say, the stabilisation of how this lens works with the VC on and the VC off, so we can compare it. We'll try it with stills, and we'll also try it with video just to see how they both look, because that may interest you as well. I think the biggest benefit probably of this will be if you wanted to shoot with a very, very slow shutter speed, but it probably will help in video as well. So let's check that out now. Okay, so testing with steady shot off. So just walking normal. Steady shot off. So testing with steady shot on. So just walking normal, just to see if there's any difference in how this looks with the steady shot on. So here I just wanted to show you how hand holding the sort of results you can get. Now, I am pretty good at this because I do it all the time, but this is completely hand holding during this rain that we had on that day, and I think the footage actually looks really quite stable. So I've used no stabilisation in post or anything. It's just been completely handheld here. So let's have a look now how the VC can help you in your images. I wanted to push it to the extreme, so let me come over to here. Now, if you look over here, you'll see that if we want to check this, that the ISO is 100, we're on 1/8 of a second, so I'm doing this at 1/8 of a second handheld, f2.8, and it's at 17mm. So both are going to be that exact same exposure. Now, yes, it's not perfectly sharp, but I think I could probably take this into something like Sharpen AI, and I'd get really quite a good result from it. But if you compare it to having the VC turned off, this is the result that you're getting. So it gives you an idea about how different this will give you if you wanted to use the vibration on as against off. So that's on and that's off. So there's a massive difference in still photography particularly. Okay, so let's look at how the bokeh looks on this. So I've shot this at 2.8. And it's ISO 800 and 1/60th of a second. So it'll give you an idea about how this will look. It's nice, quite nice up the top, but you can sort of see these fairy lights here have got a fair bit of the sort of onion ringy type look that's sort of coming through this area. So it can tend to be a little bit busy in the bokeh if you're doing these type of extreme shots. Look, I don't mind it because I've never ever had anyone that says to me, you know, look, you've got onion rings in your bokeh. I mean, it just depends on, I suppose, on how much of a pixel peeper you are. For me, I think it's just fine. Anyway, I wanted to do this just to sort of show you how they would look in this scenario. Let me know overall what you think about this. I mean, I think it's actually really good. The lens, like I said, I believe is the best zoom lens that you can put on Sony APS-C cameras. I love the fact that it has the stabilization built in. I love the fact that you've got that almost macro look about it as well. The autofocus is terrific. I mean, it really is fast, and I showed that actually working. The lens quality, I've always found the Tamron lenses to be incredibly sharp. The bokeh I like. It's always subjective. Some people like the bokeh and some people don't. I love the bokeh that these give, that this lens gives. If you have any questions, please leave the link down below. I will leave the link about where you can purchase this lens. Tamron did send me this, so thank you, Tamron, so much for sending me this, and I'm really reluctant to send it back because I'd love to keep it for my A6400. Apart from that, guys, have any questions, leave them down below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye for now.